Do God in here too. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. Allah sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafarju. Mu'min mu'minat. I want to offer you and Bibi Fatima Tazahra, the Lady of Light. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafarju. Living Imam Mehdi Sahib Zaman Allah salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafarju. I offer condolences on this 7th night of Muharram. How quickly is Muharram going? Let's please recite a Surah Fatiha for Marhum Tahir Mumin. And for Kul Mu'min Mu'minat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafarju. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafarju. Bismillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم صل على اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجه اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجه فرجه. Ya Allah, please, we ask that you purify our intentions on this day of 7th of Muharram so we can continue to do the Pursa of Imam Hussain and Ibadat in order to gain nearness to you with the best intention possible. Ya Allah, no matter how hard we try, sometimes our intentions fall short of what we wish them, what we desire them to be in our hopes and our dreams. But we do wish and try to be as good as we can be, at least when we're doing your works, Ya Allah. So we ask that on this day, you purify our intentions. You take away any jealousy, any greed, any animosity, any arrogance from any act that we do. So we could gain the maximum benefit in this world and in the hereafter, and so we can do the greatest justice to those who you love the most, particularly your love, the grandson of your most perfect creation, the son of the Lady of Light, and your lion himself, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, the personality of Imam Hussain. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa jafarju. In the name of Allah, the all beneficent, the all merciful. Oh Allah, I ask you by your mercy, which embraces all things, by your strength through which you dominate all things, towards which all things are humble, and before which all things are lowly, by your invincibility through which you overwhelm all things, by your might through which nothing can resist, by your tremendousness which has filled all things, by your authority which towers over all things, by your face which subsists after the annihilation of all things, by your name which has filled the area of all things, by your knowledge which encompasses all things, by the light of your face, through which all things are illuminated. O light, O holy, O first of the first, O last of the last, O Allah, forgive me, right? Some people might be listening and you always talk about Allah, but today you're dropping bars. Where did that come from? Where that came from was Dua Kumel. Those are not my words, those are the words of the beautiful Dua Kumel, praising Allah and asking for forgiveness. And tonight is No Chandi. Tonight is the night when the duas not only reach Allah quicker, but are answered quicker. The first Jumeirah of each month, right? There's the Jumeirah of the month of Muharram. We're going to do on Amal for No Chandi. After Dua Kumel. First, we're going to recite Dua Kumel, and I wanted to put a little bit of the translation in so you can understand the power of the dua that we're going to read tonight. The power of the dua that we're going to read tonight and the honor that we have. I was listening to Majlis, and the Maulana said, he said, what good deed did we do? What dua did we do? What is it that was so great that we did in this past year, where it led us to this point in time tonight, where we're here tonight. We're here right now on this day, right? On this day, 7th of Muharram, No Chandi, to get forgiveness from Allah and the means of first listening to Hadith Kissa by a lover of the Ahlul Bayt. It sounds always more beautiful when a lover of the Ahlul Bayt recites Hadith Kissa. And then we're going to have Dua Kubel recited by a beautiful reciter, Brother Muhammad Raza, right? And after that, we're going to have Surah Jummah, and then we're going to do the Amal for No Chandi, for Muharram No Chandi. Brother Samad will explain what that consists of. Surah Mulk is one of them. And then we're going to have Marcia, followed by our continuing discussion that we've been having with the brothers and sisters. We come here and we learn about Imamah together. We're going to continue to have that discussion, followed by Masayib and Ziyarah, Matam Ziyarah, right? So and we'll have Alam as well tonight for Janab Qasim. And we have Mendy for tonight for Janab Qasim. So, we urge anybody, if you can, you want to come join us live, please do so. If not, then tune in live on our YouTube channel. As I mentioned, Hadith Kisa, Dua Komel, Surah Mulk, Surah Jummah, Marcia, the lecture slash discussion slash Masayib, and then Noha, Ziyarat, Alam's Hazri. So it's going to be a really good program. Please, everyone join us tomorrow night for poetry night. Men and women of all ages, come and bring your poetry or bring your creative juices. We're gonna do poetry all night for the Shaheed Karbala poetry night. Sunday morning, Wadi Salam in Laverne, we're gonna do a majlis for a marhum, right? Who's gonna be there? All our marhum are gonna be there. They're waiting. They're not going anywhere. So if you think it's too early, I'll tell you a couple of people who are going to be there. They're good friends of yours, good friends of mine. I know my father will be waiting there. Ishtiyaq Bandali will be there. There's many of our marhum that are going to be there waiting for us to come and recite the majlis for them. So don't miss out on that. And Monday we have Ashura. Program starts with we're going to do Azan. And online, and then after that our program starts live at 10 a.m. with the Amals for Ashura, followed by 1:30 p.m. at Marina Park right here on Fuller Street, Cross Street. It's on Eddinger Cross Drive. It's on Eddinger and Graham, right by Marina High School. It's called Marina Park. We're going to start there at 1:30. Do Julus, do Pursa of Imam Hussein, Ziyarat Ashura. Followed by Faka Shikni, and then after that will be Shalom Riba. That'll take us through the night of 10th Muharram. So please, yes.
Same park as every year.
Yeah, same park that we've been doing. This is our third or fourth year doing it there. It's on the corner of Springdale and Eddinger. It's called actually Graham and Eddinger. You'll see Marina at Springdale and Eddinger. Go to the next block. You'll see the park. It's called Marina Park, and we'll be starting there at 1:30 p.m. We also take the Julus out here in Huntington Beach, and we'll do the Pursa of Imam Hussein. At the park, it's nice. There's always random people there learning about Imam Hussein. You can be there to help spread Islam in a part of the world that really needs it right now, Huntington Beach, California. So with the loud salawat, let's welcome Brother Mehed Raza to recite Hadith Kisa. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. An Jabir ibn Abdullah Ansari annahu qala an Fatimah az-Zahra alayhi salam bint Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi qala sami'tu Fatimata annaha qalat dakhala alayya abi Rasulillah fi ba'd al-ayyam faqala assalamu alayki ya Fatimatu فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا من اختار الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب لي لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بذاتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي في الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إني هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وهامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا صل على محمد وآل محمد فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مدية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها فقال اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مدية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي أبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما جلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزل الله عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله هما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Now, brother Muhammad will be reciting Dua Kamal. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa
Please recite a Surah Fatiha.
It's the gold book on the table, right next to it. Yeah, there it is. محمد وآل محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وقضى عليها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي ما لا يقوم لها كل شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط كل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاع له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين
ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحت كل عصام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطية أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تذنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضعا قانعا في جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من استدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشداء حاجة وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرته ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عمل القبيح بالحق حسن مبدلا غيره. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قضيم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلت وكم من عثار وقيت وكم من مقروح دفعت وكم من ثناء الجميل لست أهلا له نشرت. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سؤالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفع بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبات على ما عملته في خلواتك من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وقصرتي شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري
والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما هو وأسده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعد أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاءك، والزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقديري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكثرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا، ومقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري، وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري رحمتي، وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا ربي ارحم ضعف بدني، ورقة جلدي، ودقة عظمي، يا من بدع خلقي، وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي. هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهجت به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافه ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك، هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من أو آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، تسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة، وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا ما هكذا كذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوه يسير بقاء وقصير مدة فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تقول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل حقير المسكين المستكين يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أضج أو أبكي لأليم العذاب وشدة الأمر لطول البلاء ومدته فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك أم كيف أسكن في النار وجائي عفوك فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركني ناطقا لا ضجن عليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآمنين ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين ويا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد من مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يحرقها لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتقلقله بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه أم كيف تذجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك ويا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات وما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما علاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحدين وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندين لجعلت النار كلها وبردا وسلاما وما كان إلا أحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت يا مبتدئا وطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمت وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرت وكل سيئة أمرت بإثبها تها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم برحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك وسترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته وإحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بشرت أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستر يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك أعظم من صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعماله عندك مقبولا حتى تكون له أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا. اللهم صل على بسم الله. وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك حوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده ومن كدني فكذنه واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقرب بهم من منزلا منك وأخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك واعطف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وقلني عثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنك لهم الإجابة ف- فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني منايا ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لمن تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاعة وطاعته غنى ارحم رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النكام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله وأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وأجل فرجه اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجه اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وأجب فرج صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرج أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سورة الجمعة يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسول منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لا في ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يعملون كما سل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه إنه ملاقيم ثم تردون إلى عليم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأى تجارة لوان فدوا إليها وتركك قائما كل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجل فرجهم. Translation, Surah Al-Jumu'ah.
Tell us what Surah Jumu'ah does.
Oh, okay. So this is a Madani surah and it has 11 ayat. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, has said that if the surah is recited frequently in the mornings and evenings, the reciter is protected from his influence of shaitan and his temptations. His sins are also forgiven. In another narration, it is said that if a person recites this surah daily, he will be safe from every dangerous and frightening thing. Also, it forgives your past sins from the last week, and then will forgive your sins moving forward, right? Keep shaitan away from you moving forward, inshallah, every Friday. So without further ado, here's the translation. Bismillah. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth declares the glory of Allah, the King, the Holy, the Mighty, the Wise. He it is who raised among the inhabitants of Mecca an apostle from among themselves, who recites to them his communications and purifies them, and teaches them the book and wisdom, although they were before certainly in clear error. And others from among them who have not yet joined them, and he is the Mighty, the Wise. That is Allah's grace. He grants it to whom he pleases, and Allah is the Lord of mighty grace. The likeness of those who were charged with the Torah, then they did not observe it, is as the likeness of the ass-bearing books. Evil is the likeness of the people who reject the communications of Allah, and Allah does not guide the unjust people. Say, oh, you are the Jews. If you think that you are the favorites of Allah to the exclusion of other people, then invoke death if you are truthful. And they will never invoke it because of what their hands have sent before, and Allah is cognizant of the unjust. Say, as for death, from which you flee, that will surely overtake you. Then you shall be sent back to the knower of the unseen and the seen, and he will inform you of that which you did. O you who believe, when the call is made for prayer on Friday, then hasten to the remembrance of Allah and leave off trading. That is better for you if you know. But when the prayer is ended, then disperse abroad in the land and seek of Allah's grace, and remember Allah much that you may be successful. And when they see merchandise for sport, they break up for it, and leave you standing. Say what is with Allah is better than sport and better than merchandise, and Allah is the best of sustainers. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farju. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farju.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Next, we're going to start. So there's no Chandi, as we mentioned, is a day. The first Jumeirah of every month is a very important day to ask for dua. It's when more of the separation veils between us and Allah are removed, just so our duas can get heard and answered quickly. How generous is Allah that He created this no Chandi, the way the cosmic energies work with no Chandi, so He can answer our duas a bit quicker, right? It's one of the benefits of having the information, which, as we know, is the biggest, or the benefit of being, in the path of Shia Islam and having the imams to guide us, is we learn things like what Nochandi is, right? So one of our community members from afar, Maulana Sayyid Abdul Bigrami, Sahib, he sent dua for, he wanted to make sure that we, the al-Asr community, knew what the amal was to do tonight. So this morning he sent this amal, and he said, I wanted to make sure that we do it and that we perform it together. Now this amal, when we perform it, we're gonna offer it as a gift to Bibi Narjas Khatun, right? That is the mother of our living Imam. Imam Mehdi Sahib was Imam alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa Jafarim. So this dua, this amal, as we do it throughout the night, we're gonna dedicate it as a gift, right? To the mother of our living Imam. So the dua is as follows, right? The amal is as follows. It's gonna be Surah Mulk, followed by 18 times salawat. That's going to be recited shortly by Brother Hadi Qasim Ali, right? And then after that is Ziyarat-e-Waritha. Now, Ziyarat-e-Waritha, we're going to recite it after the majlis, during Ziyarat time. So the amal basically is going to start now with the recitation of Surah Mulk, followed by 18 times salawat. And after that, at after the majalis program in Matam, we'll recite Ziyarat-e-Waritha, which is actually recommended to recite on Thursday nights as well. And remember, the intention, Hadi, are you ready? The intention of us doing this, Hadi, ready? The intention of us doing this amal is to offer a gift to Bibi Narjas Khatun, who is the mother of our living Imam, Imam Mehdi Sahib was Imam alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Let's actually do the 18 times salawat first, so we don't forget to do it after, and then we'll do Surah Mulk. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad waj'al farajah. May Allah send blessings on Prophet Muhammad and the family of Prophet Muhammad and hasten his successor. Next up is Surah Mulk.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. الذي خلق 7 سماوات تباكم ما ترى في كلك الرحمن من تفاوت فرج البصارة هل ترى من فتور سمار جئ البصارة كرتين ينقلب إليك البصار كاسيا وهو حسير. Read some English translation. He who created death and life, that he may try which of you is best indeed, and he is the exalted in might, oft forgiving. He who created the seven heavens, one above another, no want of proportion, wilt thou see in the creation of Allah, most gracious. So turn thy vision again. Seest thou any flaw? Again, turn thy vision a second time. Thy vision will come back to thee dull and discomfited, in a state worn out. وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. إذا ألقوا فيها سميعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تمايز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوجا سألهم خزانتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل له من شيء أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير وقالوا لا كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فتعرفوا بذنبهم فسوقا لأصحاب السعير. They will then confess their sins, but far will be forgiveness from the companions of the blazing fire. As for those who fear their Lord unseen, for them is forgiveness and a great reward. And whether ye hide your word or publish it, he certainly has full knowledge of the secrets of all hearts. Should he not know, he that created, and he is the one that understands the finest mysteries and is well acquainted with them. It is he who has made the earth manageable for you, so traverse ye through its tracks and enjoy of the sustenance which he furnishes, but unto him is the resurrection. Real quick. I'm probably just going to finish the Arabic and then do English. Okay. Salat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjum. وَلَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرِ أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ صَافَّاتٍ وَيَقْبِضْنَ مَا يُمْسِكُهُنَّ إِلَّا الرَّحْمَنُ إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ بَصِيرٌ آمَنَ هَذَا الَّذِي هُوَ جُنْدٌ لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقا بل لجوا في عتو ونفور أفما يمشي مكبا على وجهه أحدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون قل هو الذي زرعكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون. وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ قُلْ إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ عِندَ اللَّهِ وَإِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ فَلَمَّا رَأَوْهُ زُلْفَةً سِيئَتْ وُجُوهُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَقِيلَ هَذَا الَّذِي كُنتُمْ بِهِ تَدَّعُونَ قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَهْلَكَنِيَ اللَّهُ وَمَن مَّعِيَ أَوْ رَحِمَنَا فَمَن يُجِيرُ الْكَافِرِينَ مِنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ قُلْ هُوَ الرَّحْمَنُ آمَنَا بِهِ وَعَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْنَا فَسَتَعْلَمُونَ مَنْ هُوَ فِي ضَلالٍ مُبِينٍ قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ إِنْ أَصْبَحَ مَاؤُكُمْ غَوْرًا فَمَن يَأْتِيكُم بِمَاءٍ مَّعِينٍ صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. English. Okay. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Blessed be in whose hands is dominion, and he over all things hath power. He who created death and life, that he may try which of you is best indeed. And he is the exalted in might, oft forgiving, he who created the seven heavens one above another. No want of proportion wilt thou see in the creation of Allah, most gracious. So turn thy vision again. Seest thou any flaw? Again, turn thy vision a second time. Thy vision will come back to thee dull and discomfited, in a state worn out. And we have from old adorned the lowest heaven with lamps, and we have made such lamps as missiles to drive away the evil ones, and have prepared for them the penalty of the blazing fire. For those who reject their Lord and cherisher is the penalty of hell, and evil is such destination. When they are cast therein, they will hear the terrible drawing in of its breath, even as it blazes forth. Almost bursting with fury every time a group is cast therein, its keepers will ask, "Did no warner come to you?" They will say, "Yes, indeed, a warner did come to us, but we rejected him and said, Allah never sent down any message. Ye are nothing but an egregious delusion." They will further say, "Had we but listened or used our intelligence, we should not now be among the companions of the blazing fire." They will then confess their sins, but far will be forgiveness from the companions of the blazing fire. As for those who fear their Lord unseen, for them is forgiveness and a great reward. And whether ye hide your word or publish it, he certainly has full knowledge of the secrets of all hearts. Should he not know, he that created, and he is the one that understands the finest mysteries and is well acquainted with them. It is he who has made the earth manageable for you, so traverse ye through its tracks, and enjoy the sustenance which he furnishes. But unto him is the resurrection. Do ye feel secure that he who is in heaven will not cause you to be swallowed up by the earth when it shakes, as in an earthquake? Or do ye feel secure that he who is in heaven will not send against you a violent tornado with showers of stones, so that ye shall know how terrible was my warning? But indeed, men before them rejected my warning, then how terrible was my rejection of them. Do they not observe the birds above them, spreading their wings and folding them in? None can uphold them except Allah, most gracious. Truly Allah, most gracious. Truly it is he that watches over all things. Nay, who is there that can help you? Even as an army, besides Allah, most merciful, in nothing but delusion are the unbelievers. Or who is there that can provide you with sustenance if he were to withhold his provision? Nay, they obstinately persist in insolent impiety and flight from the truth. It is then one who walks headlong with his face groveling, better guided, or one who walks evenly on a straight way. Say, it is he who has created you and made you grow, and made for you the faculties of hearing, seeing, feeling, and understanding. Little thanks it is ye give. Say, it is he who has multiplied you through the earth, and to him shall ye be gathered together. They asked, when will this promise be fulfilled, if ye are telling the truth? Say, as to the knowledge of the time, it is with Allah alone. I am sent only to warn plainly in public. At length, when they see it close and at hand, grieved will be the faces of the unbelievers, and it will be said to them, this is the promise fulfilled, which ye were calling for. Say, see ye, if Allah were to destroy me and those with me, or if he bestows his mercy on us, yet who can deliver the unbelievers from a grievous penalty? Say, he is Allah, most gracious. We have believed in him, and on him we have put our trust. So soon will ye know what of us is in manifest error. Say, see ye, if your stream be some morning lost in the underground earth, who then can supply you with clear flowing water? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjahum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil.
Now, brother Dosa will do mercy.
कहती थी ये माँ खूब भरी मैयाद से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर अरमान न था पहनाऊंगी पोशाक शहानी अरमान न था पहनाऊंगी पोशाक शहानी अफसोस के रासाई न तुझको ये जवानी कैसा था मुकद्दर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया और गैसुए वाला है मेरा खून में नहाया कुर्बान हो मादर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर इतना तो जरा ठहरो तो मैं दूल्हा बना लूं इतना तो जरा ठहरो तो मैं दूल्हा बना लूं बस एक झलक सहरे की सुगरा को दिखा लूं बेचैन थी खाबर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर अरमान था पहनाऊंगी पोशाक शहानी अरमान था पहनाऊंगी पोशाक शहानी अफसोस के रासाई न तुझको ये जवानी कैसा था मुकद्दर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती थी ये माँ खून भरी मैयाद से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर सल्लल्लाहु पर मोहम्मद वाल मोहम्मद
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. ये कहते थे शहे वाला सकीना हम नहीं होंगे सताएंगे तुम्हें आदा सकीना हम नहीं होंगे। उठो सीने से लग जाओ कि हम मरने को जाते हैं। अभी एक हश्र सा होगा, अभी एक हश्र सा होगा। सकीना हम नहीं होंगे। तमाचे मार कर गौहर तुम्हारे छीने जाएंगे। जब ऐसा वक्त आएगा, जब ऐसा वक्त आएगा। सकीना हम नहीं होंगे। बुझाने के लिए कौन आएगा, भड़के हुए शोले जलेगा जिस घड़ी खैमा, जलेगा जिस घड़ी खैमा। सकीना हम नहीं होंगे। तुम्हें नींद आए तो आबिद के सीने पे पड़ जाना। तुम्हें थमी तो भूल जाना था, हमें तो भूल ही जाना। सकीना हम नहीं होंगे। हमारे बाद हट जाना गा पहरा बहते दरिया से। नहीं होगा कोई प्यासा, नहीं होगा कोई प्यासा। सकीना हम नहीं होंगे। सलवात मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद।
Please recite a Surah Fatiha for Kullu Mu'min and Mu'minat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد بسم الله قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharri waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Alhamdulillah. Ya Allah, we praise you. We are sinners and we praise you. Ya Allah, there is no sustenance other than the sustenance that you send us that we could eat, yet we still committed sins. Ya Allah, there's no place we could go where we are where we are outside of your dominion, yet we still sin. Ya Allah, there's no place we could see where you cannot see us, but we still sin. Ya Allah, when you send the angel of death to take our soul, we cannot send him away and say we're not ready yet we continue to sin. And Ya Allah, when we're at the gates of hell, Ya Allah, please forgive our sins. If we are at the gates of hell and Malik, the gatekeeper, is there, we cannot tell Malik not to force us in to the gates of hell. Yet we still continue to sin. We still sin, our Lord. We still sin. And you hear our prayers and you forgive us still. Ya Allah, please forgive all of our sins. Ya Allah, we are humbled by you. Ya Allah, we are in awe by you. Yet we are able to be comfortable with you. Ya Allah, you speak to us delicately. You speak to us subtly. You speak to us in ways that we don't feel pressure. We can turn to you. Ya Allah, what don't you know? What can't you see? Ya Allah, you know us better than we know ourselves. You know our secrets. You know our fears. You know our desires. You know our intentions. You know when we do easy tasks, how hard they can be for us to do. You know how hard it is for us to turn to worship you, even though it should be easy. You know the hoops that we jump through and the struggles that we have in the day. And that is why you are the just one who weighs our sins and weighs our deeds, because you understand what we're going through. Ya Allah, that is a testament to your justice, to your adalat, is that not only do you judge us knowing us, right? You judge us knowing why we do things. You judge us knowing why we didn't do things. You judge us knowing how hard it was to do things that other people do simply. You know how hard it is for us to take time to please you and to praise you, even though we should do that at all times. You know the struggles that we go through, and you take those into account when you judge us. Ya Allah, that is why you are the only justice. And that is why, because of your adalat, that we are truly free. Because of your mercy, that we are truly free. Because of your oneness, we are truly free. We ask that you continue to smile and shine your rahmat on us and send your blessings on us and shower us with your blessings. We ask that you shower your blessings on Prophet Muhammad, the family of Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Shower us with your blessings too. Ya Allah, we want cars and we want mansions and we want respect. We want to get better at basketball, hobby, and we want to have our sins be forgiven. We want to have our deeds be rewarded in this world. Ya Allah, reward us in this world. Your kingdom is so big. Reward us, give us some rewards here, right? The kingdom is never ending, right? The space is the biggest thing. The universe is the biggest thing we could fathom, and it's constantly exponentially expanding. And the more it expands and the bigger it gets, right? You stay the same and you've never moved since there was nothing until there will be nothing. You will never have moved, grown, shrunk, expanded, contracted, and you are still always going to be bigger than everything, and your kingdom will still be bigger than the universe that keeps expanding at an exponential rate, right? It is as if you're telling us that imagine the biggest thing you can imagine, and imagine it expanding more than you can imagine. And no matter how much it expands, I'm still bigger than that. It's not even close. It's not even close, Allah. That's how great you are. Ya Allah, you have so many amazing things that you invented and so many amazing things that we're yet to see. Ya Allah, give us dibs on all of them. We want all of those blessings, all of the rahmat in this world and in the hereafter. Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tonight's program so far, mashallah, has been beautiful. It's been beautiful because of the beautiful recitation of Marcia by both Brother Dosa and Brother Muhammad Raza, right? We had beautiful recitation of Dua Kumel. Hadith Kissa, as we know, we started Hadith Kissa and angels surrounding our house, right? How do we know this? Because Prophet Muhammad told Hazrat Ali, because he asked what the significance of the event was, and Bibi Fatima Tazara heard it until Jafar ibn Abdullah Ansari, who wrote it down and sent it to us, right? I keep saying the importance of this because Hadith Kissa is it's ours, right? It's for the Shia. It says in there that this is a gift for the Shia. Shia are the ones that have succeeded, right? Some people wonder, where did that term come from, right? Hazrat Ali said in Hadith Kissa that we're the Shia, right? And this is a gift to us. And there's a time that's very near, and it's coming closer and closer that Hadith Kissa is not going to be recited. It's not going to be recited in the centers. It's not going to be recited in the homes, right? when I open up my calendar, right, it says Ashura on it, and that's awesome, right? Ashura, they know what Ashura is, right? But I'll tell you something. For so many years, nobody knew what Ashura was except for the lovers of Imam Hussein, right? We were the ones first. Actually, Ashura, when people know what it is because of Bibi Zainab, because on Chelum, when they were released, she requested a house for the women to go, and she told the first Masa'ib of Hazrat Ali Akbar was told by her, do you know what they did to my nephew? The Masa'ib was told of Mona Muhammad, you know what they did to my children? She said, I saw what they did to my brother, she said. And she continued to tell these stories over and over. And generation after generation, we hear these stories. We hear the stories and we tell each other these stories. I heard them, I remember the first majlis I ever cried in. I always give credit to my dear elder, Aftab Uncle, Aftab Zahir. I remember it was 8th of Muharram. 8th of Muharram in Jafria, the old Jafria. It was in the center of violence in Bell Gardens, right? It was in the hood, right? We used to go there. Right. And, we were running around in the hood. Literally, when we were playing outside, we were little dumb kids running around the hood. And Aftab Uncle, he decided that they were going to have kids much of this. This is before any of you kids were born that are sitting here. Any of you, weren't even thought about. Right. And we're sitting there. And Aftab Uncle gave him much of this. And he started to talk about Hazrat Abbas. And I remember I cried so much. The majlis was over and I'm still crying. And I cried so much. And it was because of our community, because of Aftab Uncle, right, who told this to me, right? And my father gave me books about it. My father would tell me, make me listen to the majlises. I remember Hadi used to sit next to me and try to mess with the video camera when he was like barely 2 years old. He doesn't remember, but I do. His dad was looking back and asking if it was bothering me, and I said no, he's fine. You know what I mean? I'm showing him how the camera worked, right, during majlises. This is our tradition. The reason why I'm pointing that out is now that we're on the radar of Ashura pops up on your Google Calendar, mark my words, there's going to come a time when everyone knows about Ashura. And when everyone knows about Ashura, that's good, but it's also going to hurt us because there are going to be people who are going to challenge what happened on Ashura, right? There's going to be people who are going to be experts on Ashura now because they're going to read 2 books written by Jews about Ashura, and they're going to say that it never happened, right? And that's why it's important that we tell these stories and we understand the importance of these stories and the power of these stories. And they're not just stories. I call them stories. Nay, they are guidance. Why? Because they are the actions of our Imam, right? Every single moment that we study the actions in Karbala, the actions on Ashura, is guidance from our Imam. As we've been studying the guidance of our Imam, right? Our Imam guides us. Allah guides us, right? I was talking about why this program was so beautiful. I didn't even get to the part where the Qasim Ali brothers started to recite the Quran, right? You listen to the Quran and the words in the Quran, and I never knew they recited so beautifully the way that they pronounce it Arabic. MashaAllah. May your parents be very proud of Allah. Send blessings on you and your family, right? And they recite the Quran, and then the translation is just as beautiful. And we've been doing this discussion, and we could discuss any one of those ayats on end over end, right? And I'm listening to all this, and I'm this is guidance flowing into us. Every single word in the Quran, every single word said by Bibi Fatima Tazara and Hadith Kissa, every single word, action done by Prophet Muhammad, done by Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, done by Imam Hussein alayhi salam, not just in his life, but on the day of Ashura. It's not just for us to understand that they were killed, right? It's us to see how they lived, right? It's not about how they died. It's about how they lived and what they did in their final moments, right? What they did with their time, right? Now, to understand death, right? Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, right? When do we say that, man?
When someone passes away.
When someone passes away, right? The first thing you say is Inna lillahi, isn't it, Adi? Inna lillahi, inna ilaihi raji'un, right? First thing you say, right? It's written on everyone's grave, right? Everyone's grave, right? What does that mean, brother? Someone, why don't you pull up a slide and tell us what it means? Give us the literal translation, and then why don't you start? Tell us what you think. What you hear when you hear Inna lillahi, inna ilaihi raji'un, right? First, what someone died, right?
Well, it is like we were created by Allah, right? So we have to return back to Him.
Right. We are of Allah, and to Him we shall return, right? To Allah do we belong, right? We belong to Allah. We're His. We are His. We are His creations. We are His creatures. We are His, right? We're not anybody. We don't belong to anyone else. And isn't that why Imam Hussein was standing up in Karbala, right? To say that we belong to Allah. We don't belong to a tyrannical government. We belong to Allah, right? We belong to Allah. What do you think, Brother Muhammad Raza? What do you think about this quote that we are all the time and we take it for granted, right? Give us some insight on it, brother.
I think it really exemplifies the fact that our bodies, our physical selves, are on loan from Allah,
Wow.
and we need to treat it the best we can, right? So that means like putting in, getting good out, right? Whether it's looking at good, eating well, keeping yourself healthy, keeping your exercising, whatever it is, we need to keep our bodies healthy and free of toxins and whatnot, because it is something that we've gotten on loan from Allah. If you have a car and if you put diesel in it and it's a gas car and you rented it and you return it to the guy, he's gonna be like, "Yo, you messed up my car."
Yeah,
right?
you put diesel in your body, though, it's working out, isn't it? Right?
MashaAllah.
Mashallah, mashallah. No, you're absolutely right, dude. We need to take this body, our life is on loan, right? Our actions, right? As we know, Allah, we discussed yesterday how Allah created everything and gave it direction on how to on how to do what it is. He created ants and told ants how to be ants. He created humans and told humans how to be humans. He created the dinosaurs and told them how to be dinosaurs. And told Irthas how to run like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, right? This is these are the things that Allah creates and gives us clear indication on how we're supposed to act, right? So what does it mean? Brother Ali Qasim, what does it mean when he says we belong to Allah and to Him is our return? What is our return? When are we returning to Allah?
Like when we die and when we face the Qiyamah.
Exactly. When we die, right? So when we're, as we live, we belong to Allah, and to Allah we return, right? So we're going to return. We're going to die. We're going to return to Allah, right? And so we need to live in the best way possible, right? We also need to die in the best way possible, right? So somebody asked Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, just after the Battle of Uhud, and he asked the Prophet, he said, how could I die where I gained reward as if I was a shaheed of the Jung Uhud? And the Prophet said to him, he said, by remembering death 20 times in the day and 20 times in the night, right? You should remember your death, right? If you want to die a martyr, that's actually kind of simple, right? Simple. So think about it. What will happen if you remember death 20 times in the day and 20 times at night, right? Just by doing that, you're going to die a martyr. So just by doing that, there's probably some guidance and some power in it, right? Just by doing that, there's some guidance and some power in just remembering your death. Allah makes us remember the day of judgment, requires us to remember the day of judgment, and instructs us how to do it 10 times a day at least, right? Because we do five namazes, and in each of the first two rakats, we recite Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Master of the Day of Judgment, right? So if you don't think about the Day of Judgment, Allah says 10 times a day, different times a day, you'll think about the Day of Judgment. And if you want to die as if you're a martyr in Jung Uhud, you think about death 20 times in the day and 20 times at night, right? That is the guidance that they're giving us, right? Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He said, the one who thinks about death values his time. This is the next quote I glossed over the other quote, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. Remember death, right? We could, actually, it's not self-explanatory. We could get into what it would do for your body and your soul to think about death and the different things you would think about. Inshallah, that's a discussion for another day. But right now, Imam Ali says, the one who thinks about death values his time. Brother Ali Sagarwala, the one who thinks about death values his time. What does that mean to you?
To me, it means that time on this earth is very limited. My mom always used to tell me that dunya, like life is only for one day.
How'd she say it? Say it in Urdu.
She used to say, dunya ek din ki hoti hai, to jio. So she's saying, live life because there's only one day of it, but eternity is forever. And afterlife, that's what we have, eternity.
Yeah, right. Perfect. What do you think, brother Muhammad Raza? The one who thinks about death values his time.
I think realizing that we have a limited time on this earth allows us to really compartmentalize what we need to do to meet the end goals that we need to, right? For example, we all want to reach Jannah. And if we know that we have a limited time on this earth, about 80 years, right? We know then from the grace of Allah and the teachings of the Prophet, we know that what we need to do in order to get to that level, right? It's just all about logically thinking about it and planning your life so that you can reach that place of Jannah. So you're valuing your time and you're scheduling your life around Allah in order to in order to get to that place.
Yeah,
Right?
but we don't know if we're going to live to be 80, do we?
That's true.
You know, so we don't know if we're going to live to be 80. So what do you think, Brother Picasso? What do you think? Right? What does this mean? Right? What do you think about we're thinking about death, what that does for you, right? And the valuing, you know.
Yeah. I think that again, like Mazaraza, he pretty much explained it in the whole compass.
It speaks for us all.
Yeah, he
Like
spoke for us all. But it means that just basically be smart. Have a goal in mind. Understand it. Kind of like time is all we have. So I feel like Mazaraza pretty much explained everything I wanted to say.
what about you, brother? How do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, the one who thinks about death values his time. So to me, it just means, I mean, they call Imam Ali the master of time, right? So
Imam Salih was Imam Mehdi.
Imam Ali the master of time. Okay, sorry about that. So if you value your time, and you think about death, you connect death and time, and
You value the Imam because he's a master.
you
of
value
time.
the Imam, exactly, and you just like you cut out things that aren't gonna benefit you, aren't gonna fulfill you, and aren't gonna improve you, because this whole life is a journey, and you just throughout this journey you want to maximize your output.
Amazing.
So,
And think about how amazing it is. This is 12 Imam, 11 Imams before. This is Hazrat Ali alayhi salam is talking to people at his time, right? And he's saying something that Brother Hadi just put together to equate to the Imam of our time, right? One who thinks about death values his time, right? Values his time as if our time on earth, right? And also, time is in. Who's the master of time? We value our Imam. If you think about death, you're going to value your Imam, right? How are you going to value your Imam if you think about death, Brother Meher?
You're gonna always do the right thing. You're not gonna be doing bad things because in the back of your head, you're always like, "When I'm not gonna be here one day, and
Exactly.
my actions gonna be accounted for."
Yeah. You know who valued their time, right? The Imams valued their time. Every action they did, every word they spoke was knowledge, right? How about the people who were going to Karbala, right? You think they valued, like, they didn't have 80 years, Hazrat John did. He was an 80-year-old man, but he was, I think, one of the oldest in Karbala. Everyone other than that had less time. They had, a lot of them knew they were going to die, but they didn't know when and how, right? Imam Hussein kept saying that we're walking towards our death, right? They knew. So the value, so if they thought about death, right, they valued their time. And what did they do when they valued their time? You see, people like the Imams, right? Didn't they value every moment they have, right? And so do you think knowing that they were walking into their death changed their life plan? Think about that. Do you think what they were going to do on, whatever Wednesday fell on, it says Ashura was on a Saturday, right? Am I right about that? And so whatever that Wednesday was would have been what, the 5th of Muharram. You think whatever they were doing that Wednesday changed because they knew that it was, or you think they had the same plan? You think they had the same plan, right? They had the same plan about death, right? Right? What do you know about death? Yeah, it's sweeter than honey. Don't believe me, but ask somebody. Janabi Qasim, ask him. Yeah, he knows. He was only 13, but he was one of the heroes, right? This is Janabi Qasim that we're talking about. He was a 13-year-old boy who was walking towards Karbala. And he was walking towards Karbala. Janabi Qasim, he had a very, very tragic life when he was 3 years old, right? I always think about, Karbala, and when they talk about putting the white kapra, what mothers were getting their sons ready and putting the white kurta on them, right? And getting them ready to go. Fashion is very important in Islam. Hazrat Idris alayhi salam was a prophet between Hazrat Adam and Hazrat Nuh, right? He used to preach out of Masjid Sela, and he was the first one to stitch clothing, right? He was a father of fashion, right? Those Muslims, our prophet taught us how to look fly, right? On the day of Ashura, right? When people were going to fight, they weren't throwing on like, let me throw on my rags because I'm going to die. No, they were putting on their best clothing to present themselves in a certain way, to present themselves in a certain manner, And so, I always think about the women of Karbala getting their sons ready in the white kapra, right? And I always think about how, as we'll hear later, nobody saw Janabi Qasim return with his kurta all bloody. I'll explain why, but Bibi Zainab did see him with his kurta all bloody one day, right? Bibi Zainab saw him when he was 3 years old, knock on her door with his kurta all bloody because his father, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, because his father, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, poisoned, and he was coughing up blood. And he coughed the blood he was coughing up, came onto the white kurta of Janab Qasim, and Janab Qasim ran to get Bibi Zainab, ran to get Imam Hussein alayhi salam from the other house, right? And I think about that, and I think about the fact that he grew up in a house where, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, they were so close. They were as close as brothers could be. People thought they were twins, right? Imam Hassan would think, and Imam Hussein would do. Imam Hussein would feel, and Imam Hassan would come to his aid, right? And this is how the brothers were. They would talk by ishara. They knew they were one unit. They were one. Their brotherhood bond was probably never seen again, right? They loved each other so much. When Imam Hassan was in his last moments, he called Imam Hussein to come help him and just hang out with him. He knew he was dying, and he wanted to spend time with his brother Imam Hassan alayhi salam, right? So think about Janab Qasim growing up in the house of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein, Bibi Zainab taking care of him, right? Janab Qasim told his mother on the night before Ashura, right, that I never felt like an orphan. In fact, I was treated better than anyone in the house because they didn't ever want me to feel like an orphan. He said, I'm confident if my father had not been martyred, he wouldn't treat me as well as Imam Hussein did. Imam Hussein pulled no stops to make sure Janab Qasim knew he was loved. And he loved his brother so much that he wanted to reflect that love in the way he treated his son. Bibi Zainab wanted to reflect that love in the way that she treated Janab Qasim, right? Hazrat Abbas wanted to reflect that love in the way he treated him. And Hazrat Qasim was beloved to all of them. He was beloved to all of them, but he had seen so much. He had seen so much. He had seen his father die. He'd seen his father's casket get arrow shot at it, right? And so now they're walking to Karbala, right? Janab Qasim, 13 years old, right? Walking, with his uncle Abbas, with his cousin Ali Akbar, right? With his uncle Hussein, and he was walking on the route to Karbala. He pulled up next to Imam Hussein, and he was talking to his uncle. He said, "Uncle, are we gonna die?" And Imam Hussein looked at him. He looked at him. He looked down, right? He looked down at his nephew, 13-year-old nephew, asked, "Are we gonna die?" Imagine that, 13-year-old that you love asking you, "Are we gonna die?" You have to say yes. When my father was sick, the doctors told me to let him know he was going to pass, right? He was a 70-year-old man and he was ready to go. And for me to tell him he was going to die was hard enough. Now imagine telling a 13-year-old, right? You're about to, yes, we're going to die. And he asks, he has that understanding, right? So what did Imam Hussein do? See, sometimes they guided through their tongue. Sometimes they guide through their actions, right? And sometimes they guided through their conversation, right? So he asked Janab Qasim, right? He said, "What is death to you?" Right? What did he say? Pull up that quote of Janab Qasim. He asked Janab Qasim, this 13-year-old boy, he said, "What is death to you?" And Janab Qasim said, he said, "Death to me is sweeter than honey. Death to me is sweeter than honey." Let's start with Sister Asya. What do you think? Speak up, speak loudly.
I think that means that he lived a very pious life and a very good life because he's the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. So he's guaranteed a really, really high place in heaven because of the life he lived. And if you live a good life, death to you will be sweeter than honey too.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. You know what I loved about that interpretation is it wasn't just death is sweeter than honey. Like she looked and said that he said death to me is sweeter than honey. You're absolutely right. See, death to me is a scary proposition, right? Death to us is a scary proposition, right? Because we know our sins. We know our sins. This was the son of the infallible, right? This is the son of the infallible. Who knows how we're going to die, right? We could walk outside, and somebody could run over us on the street, right? We could die doing something stupid, right? We could die. There's a million ways we could die, right? But he knew how he lived his life, and he knew how his final days were going to do. So to me, death to me is sweeter than honey, right? And isn't that guiding us on how we should live our life? What do you think, Lisa?
I think Asya said it very eloquently. She said that, your intention, living your life in the best possible way is the only way for you to be ready for death.
Ready for death. You see, and then he who thinks about death values their time, right? So every moment was important. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Every moment, right? He knew he was gonna, and so they valued their time. They value their time, right? And now it's interesting because he's death to me is sweeter than honey, right? Honey. Why honey? Someone, what do you think? Death to me is sweeter than honey. Well, what's that about, right? Why not sugar? Why not death to me? I know they had desserts back then, right? So why not death to me? No, the Niyaz is a very important part of our tradition, right? So, You know what I'm saying? Why honey, right? Tell me.
Honey,
Do you know?
I mean, honey is more natural and organic, and it's such that honey is like around like 20-25% sweeter than sugar.
Right. It is. Honey is 25%, right? As measured by recent, tastologists or chefs, right? When you are cooking something that requires sweetener, right? You use as a rule of thumb a third less honey than you do sugar, because honey is sweeter than sugar.
You knew that back then.
Yeah, you knew that back then. You see, this is the Imam. So the Imam's not going to say, if you said sweeter than sugar, somebody goes, there's something sweeter than death then. No, honey is the sweetest thing. And that's why he says death is sweeter than honey. Not death is sweeter than sugar, not death is sweeter than Splenda, right? The death is sweeter than honey, right? Because it's the sweetest thing. 25, at least 1/4 sweeter than sugar. You see the guidance that we get from the Imam, right? Bar Muhammad wa ala Muhammad sallallahu So I'm going to touch on this topic very quick because I don't like to really get into things that are beyond my knowledge, right? But I've been pondering and thinking about the we're going to do Mendi today, Mendi of Janabi Qasim, right? And there's people who read Masaib and they say that Bibi Zainab, put water, the powder Mendi with her tears and mixed the Mendi, and they did the Mendi, and then they had this tragic, right? And then, thinking about that, some people said that Mendi is Indian tradition. It's not a Muslim tradition. So and they talked about all that, right? And then the concept got a little bit farther. Like, why would they get married? In Karbala, if you're going to die in a couple of days, right? Isn't it to death do us part, right? I have bad news for all the husbands out there. In Islam, there's no death do us apart, right? You're married to your wife after you die too, right? So we better start getting along. You know what I'm saying? No, that's true. And, when you get married, it's a bond for eternity, right? It's a bond for eternity. There's no death to us apart. And getting married is one of the biggest acts of sawab you could do. Biggest acts of sawab you could do is to get married. So just because we're going to die in a couple of days, right? Why not do something that makes Allah happy, right? This was perhaps the example of Imamah to show us that you fulfill your obligation to Allah and your requirement and your recommendation for how to live this life, even on limited time. Because at the end of the day, we're all on limited time, right? They might have known they're going to die on Ashura. We might not know we might die before Ashura. Ashura's on Monday, right? On the 7th of Muharram, when they might have not done the Mendi, right? They might have been dying in 3 days. We might be dying today, right? This could be the last speech I ever get. Anything could happen after that, during it, right? So we have no idea, right? So why stop pleasing Allah just because that's happening, right? Just, there's no death to it. So that's one thing I thought about, that I've researched on, right? The other thing I read was that he was engaged to Bibi Fatima Kubra, right? And Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein had talked about their kids getting married when they were younger. So this is his last opportunity to fulfill the plan that him and his brother had, right? And then the third reason why the Mendi makes sense if you think about it was that why the wedding makes sense if you think about it is when the women were taken prisoner, Yazid took all of the non-married women, all the women that weren't widows, as his personal slaves. Right, and I don't want to get into details of what that could have entailed, but right, they wanted to make sure that Bibi Fatima Kubra was going to be counted as one of the widows of Karbala, so she would not be taken as Yazid's personal slave. You see, so there's a lot of times people, and this is what I'm talking about when I say that the Karbala, now that Ashura is on the Google Calendar, it's going to start to get broken down and analyzed by other people who didn't have generations of love for the Ahlul Bayt analyzing these same stories, and they're going to come with their views of other things and other morals and other values, right? Other things that are important in this world, and they're going to sit there and twist our stories and shove them back to us, right? And people are going to read a book read by Dr. John Hottenheimer, JD, MD, PhD, and they're going to read this book on Karbala, and they're going to say, come out. Actually, Imam Hussein wasn't even there. It says in this book by Dr. Hoppenheimer that he actually did something else, and people are going to start to believe that. So it's really important that we understand these stories. It's really important that we understand, right? So when the time comes when we need to save Islam, we need to save, just like Bibi Zainab had to tell people that, no, these weren't rebels. These were freedom fighters. These were people standing up for the rights. That's exactly what she had to do. The time's going to come when we're going to have to do that too. So it's important that we do this. It's important that we understand what Ashura was, what the day of Ashura was, and the guidance that no matter even if you're being attacked with arrows, you still do namaz, right? You think you can't fast when it's hot outside and you have a final, right? These kids were thirsty. They were hungry for 3 days, right? And I know they weren't fasting, so it wasn't well, but if they had the strength to do it, you have the strength to do it. You see, these are the lessons, right? You still tell people, Imam Hussein knew all these soldiers were there to kill him, but he still said, is there anyone to help me? And he's still offering them a chance to change, still offering them, some soldiers did attack the very army that they were standing with, right? Some of them did do that, right? Sawar al-Fahmi Hamdani and Saeed ibn Harith and his brother, they both, when Imam said, is there anyone to help me? They turned towards the army and were immediately killed. They were immediately killed. You see, the day of Ashura was filled with so many decisions that every decision Imam Hussein made, he knew was not just for that day, right? Not just for him, but it was for people who were going to be looking at the decisions he made from that point on, right? And the decisions were getting harder and harder. I think about one of the reasons why he called Habib ibn Mazahir to come to Karbala, why Habib ibn Mazahir came, right? As I said, he would always stand and he'd look at Hazrat Abbas or look at Habib ibn Mazahir. They were all standing at different parts of the tents, right? Always standing where he was, but at different parts of the tent. And it's because he couldn't look in the eyes of Janabi Qasim. He couldn't look in the eyes of Bibi Sakina, who was constantly coming and asking her, Baba, what's going on? Baba, are we getting water? Right? She was a 4-year-old kid who loved her dad. That gave her a lot of attention. How much attention does, we get him in a majlis, Alijwa, they'll run in and ask me if you can have candy while I'm talking, right? It doesn't matter. He's 4, right? Imagine how, Bibi Zainab going and hugging your father, wanting his attention, and it hurt him so much to look these people in the eye, right? He knew if he looked Janabi Qasim in the eye, Janabi Qasim would come and ask him when his time for jihad was, right? So he avoided eye contact with these people. And so he had Habib ibn Mazahir to look at in the eye. And he had Hazrat Abbas to look at in the eye. And that way, he could constantly be avoiding facing the inevitability of what would happen, right? Right. And now you think about this, right? You think about this, right? When sometimes there's a big event going on the next day. We had the Jalus last week, and when I was thinking about on the Jalus, I'm gonna have these alums and give it out to these kids and planning out how I would do. You know what I'm saying? I know before a big game, Hadi thinks about I'm gonna hit the game winner, and I'm gonna score this many points, and I'm gonna be the leader, and I'm gonna this, because that's what he does. You know what I'm saying? And so he thinks about this and he visualizes, right? Now Ashura was imminent, and everybody knew what was happening on Ashura, right? Everybody was sharpening their swords, right? Hazrat Abbas didn't use a sword that day, sharpened his sword, right? And they were all sitting there wondering, right? Who's going to die first? Who's going to die first, right? Think about Hazrat Abbas and what he was thinking. Like I said, he was ready to go. He was ready to go from Medina. There was no time. He was not ready, right? He's looking for a reason to draw that sword and to show people what the son of the Lion of God could do to you non-believers, to you dogs, to you cowards, what I could do to you with the sword. That my father taught me how to use, right? In Battle of Siffin, he had defeated so many. We'll talk about Hazrat Abbas more tomorrow, but I want to point a picture of who Hazrat Abbas was. And I want to ask you, what do you think Hazrat Abbas thought? What do you think he thought, right? He thought he was first, didn't he? He thought there's no way any of these people who I'm responsible for watching are going to get a hair hard while I'm standing here. That's impossible. You're going to hurt my people while I'm here? Absolutely not. I must be going first. But that didn't happen. Muslim bin Asija went first, right? Then Hazrat Hur went, right? And then all through the warriors, one by one, Habib ibn Mazahir, Sayyid ibn Abdullah, Zubair ibn Kain, right? One by one, they had all been, had been being martyred, right? Abu Qara al-Ghafari, Anas ibn Harith, right? One by one they had gone, right? And then the soldiers started to become less and less, right? The Ghafari brothers, good friends of Imam Hussein, great soldiers, right? The Jabari brothers, the Ansari brothers, right? They had all gone. And then there were no warriors left. And so then what happened? What happened was the servants of these warriors who also learned how to fight, Abu Omar al-Nashali, right? He was a servant, right? And then Imam Hussein's servants were freed, and they went out to fight, right? And then he looked around and he looked back and he saw 17 men, 18 including Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Now is the time for the people of their house, the people of his house to go, right? Hazrat Abbas is thinking all these soldiers fell one by one. One's my turn, right? And then they turn around and now it's the house of Imam Hussein, the house of Prophet Muhammad, right? This is what they're defending. And now Hazrat Abbas was thinking it's my turn now. Now I'm going to defend the house, right? You know who else was thinking that? On Muhammad and Janabi Qasim were all around the same age, okay? On the night before Ashura, right? The night of Ashura, right? They were talking, right? Now think about when you're talking amongst your friends, especially when you're younger, right? And you're planning to do something that you don't know if your parents are going to let you do. When they're around, you're quiet, right? Talk about it when they're around, you're quiet, right? Talk about it when they're around, you're quiet. So these boys, they met, right? They met and nobody was around, and they started talking. They started saying, "I'm going to die first. No, I'm going to die first. No, I am the son." Muhammad, son of Abdullah, would say, "I am the son of Abdullah. I am the grandson of Jafar al-Tayyar. There's no way the children of Imamat are going to die before me." And Owen says, "No, I'm also the grandson of Jafar al-Tayyar. I'm not going to let my little brother die without me. I'm going to die first, right?" And then Janabi Qasim, he said, "Who do you think I am? Right? I am the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. I'm his representative. I am not going to let anything happen to you guys before I die." And in the back of their mind, they knew that Imam Hussein was not going to, they were boys to Imam Hussein. He's not going to let them do anything, right? And so, Farwa, and so when they would hear footsteps, they would be quiet and they would start talking about something else or something quiet, right? And then, Imam Hussein heard this. He heard this and he returned to his tent, right? He was very, very stressed out about what they had said because he knew decisions had to be made the next day. Farwa, right? She had sent for Janabi Qasim, and Janabi Qasim came to her, right? And she told her, I'm going to read from, I'm going to read this. She said, "Qasim, my son, do you know why I called you? I want to remind you about your duty towards your uncle Hussein. I want to tell you something about the unparalleled love and affection Hassan, your father, had for Hussein. The two of them were so devoted to each other that they were always thinking and acting in unison. The slightest pain suffered by one was instantaneously felt by the other as if they were from the same embryo," right? She said, "With the unique love your father had for Hussein, I can well imagine how he, if he was alive, would have felt today. He would have been the first to sacrifice his life for his beloved younger brother," right? And she stopped. In the lower tone, she added, I'm sure, she said to Janabi Qasim, that he wanted to deputize you for him on this day. My child, when he passed away, you were too young to understand life, right? On his deathbed, his last words were, Farwa, I entrust you and my children to God and to Hussein. When Qasim grows up, tell him that my dying desire was that he should stand by Hussein through thick and thin. I can see the clouds of treachery gathered around Hussein. A day may come when he needs the unflinching devotion and sacrifice from near ones. Though I will not live to see that day, my last wish is I want you to prepare Qasim for it from his childhood. My Qasim, since that day your father breathed his last breath, Hussein has looked after you as his own son. Nay, he has treated you on all occasions better than his own sons. You know now he has fulfilled every wish that you may have. Now it is your turn to show that you can repay to some extent your debt of gratitude by laying down your life before him for the sons, the brothers, the kinsmen. Now is your chance to reciprocate his love and affection by demonstrating to the enemies that you are a scion of the house of Ali and can wield the sword in defense of the truth, right? This is what his mother said. This is what his mother said to Janabi Qasim. And he heard this, and he was just talking to Ona Muhammad. He was just talking to Ona Muhammad about who would die first. And now was the day of Karbala, the day of Ashura, and all of the warriors had been martyred, and all of the servants of the warriors had been martyred. The servants of Imam Hussein had been martyred. All of the able-bodied men had been martyred. And Imam Hussein looks back, and he sees Hazrat Abbas, and he sees a bunch of children. And his eyes looked on to one, Ibrahim. He was the older son of Imam Hussein, and he let Hazrat Ibrahim, the son of Imam Hassan, go. And he had gone onto the battleground. And when he had gone onto the battleground, he fought like the grandson of the Lion of God. He fought like the descendant of Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, but just as everyone else, the thirst overtook him. The fatigue overtook him. The armies had gathered around him. They had attacked him from all sides, and he had fallen. He had fallen, and his body was carried back. And now there were actually, I'm going to back up. Sorry. What happened? And this is actually a very important point. This is why I'm backing up. When he looked and saw the young boys, his eyes fell on his son al-Akbar, and he sent him out first. We're going to read his Masa'ib later. But Imam Hussein wanted to make sure his son entered the battlefield before anyone else's son did, right? Before any other child did. So Hazrat Ali Akbar was the first of the Ahlul Bayt that were sent to the battlefield. We do the Masa'ib another day, right? And after that, one by one, the youngsters were going. Ibrahim ibn al-Hassan had gone to the battlefield and not come back. And when his lash had come back, Bibi Zainab, what she did was a very smart lady, a very respectful lady, and she knew, how could my sons be alive when the sons of Imam are not here? And so she asked Imam Hussein, and she told Imam Hussein, as we heard yesterday, that please let my son, Owen was 8 years old at the time, let them go and fight the war, just like Abbas had defended you in the Battle of Siffin. How proud Hazrat Ali was. Let me feel that pride in my sons and let them go and defend Imam like Hazrat Abbas did when he was 8. And so they went on to the battlefield and didn't come back. They went on to the battlefield and they didn't come back. Owen was 8, Muhammad was 13. And when they went on to the battlefield, Hazrat Qasim stood and he looked from the door and he never saw them come back. And now he knew maybe my uncle will call me. Maybe my uncle will call me. And he went and stood by his uncle. He went and stood by Imam Hussein. And Imam Hussein looked at him and he knew what was happening. And he said, my uncle, please let me go. Let me go. I'm ready. I'm ready to stand up for Islam. I'm ready to stand up for Imamat. How could it be that harm could come on you and I'm still standing here? My father would not allow that. And he said, I cannot let you go. I can't let you fight. You're my brother's son. I looked after you and you're my brother's son. How can I let you go knowing what's going to happen to you? And he said he refused to him. And what did Janabi Qasim do? He went and he talked to Bibi Zainab. He talked to Bibi Zainab and Bibi Zainab said, I can't do anything. I'm sorry. You are the son of my beloved brother Hassan. I cannot bear to see what's going to happen to you. And so he went to his mother and he cried to her and he told her, he said, Allah, help me. What am I going to do? Can you go please speak to my uncle? And she said, I can't do that. I can't do that. But she remembered the time when Imam Hassan was on his deathbed and he gave Bibi Farwa a note. And he said, this letter, I want you to give this to Janabi Qasim on a day when when he has a problem that he cannot solve. I want you to give this to him. And she didn't even open the letter and she handed it to Janabi Qasim and told him what it was about. Janabi Qasim took the letter, didn't read it, didn't open it, took it to Imam Hussein and handed it to him. When Imam Hussein took the letter and opened up the letter, he saw the writing of his brother who he loved so much. He saw the writing, the letters, the handwritten note by Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And it said, my brother, this is my son Qasim. He is my representation on the day of Ashura. Please make sure you accept my sadaqah on the day of Ashura. You let Qasim go. He is also the grandson of the Lion of God. He is my representation on the day of Ashura. So Imam Hussein, he looked at the letter, tears in his eyes. He kissed the letter. He folded it up and he put it in his pocket. And then him and Hazrat Abbas, they brought the horse. Hazrat Abbas, wasn't it he who taught Janabi Qasim how to run a sword? Wasn't it he who taught Janabi Qasim how to defend a blow? Wasn't it he who taught Janabi Qasim what to do one day when he needed to do jihad? And this is that day. And so Imam Hussein, Hazrat Abbas, they helped Janabi Qasim onto the horse. And Janabi Qasim, and Hazrat Abbas, he went on to the battlefield. Janabi Qasim rode out, and just like he had seen everybody do, they didn't just come out and start fighting. No, he came out and he announced who he was. He said, do you know who I am? And everybody saw a young boy. Imagine what a 13-year-old boy looks like, right? They don't look like men, they look like boys, right? This boyish face, right? With the nur and the light and the poise and the greatness radiating, the royalty radiating from his face. The army looked at him and he said, do you know who I am? I am the son of al-Hussein. I am the grandson of the Lion of God. This is Hussein. My uncle is Hussein. You are treating him as if he's a rebel among scoundrels, right? And I will make sure that none of you will survive. And he went and he charged the battlefield. And Janabi Qasim spending his life with Hazrat Abbas, with Imam Hussein, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. Soldier upon soldier would come up and nobody could come near. Every time he would strike a soldier down, he was so short at the time. He was such a small boy that his sword would touch the floor. And when he was on the horse, after he would defeat an enemy, he'd get on his tippy toes on the stirrups and he looked back to Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam to say, you see, uncle, I'm doing good, uncle. You see, uncle, I'm doing good. Every time he would strike it down, he would strike an enemy down, he looked back at Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam and look at him to say, you see, my uncle Abbas, you see, Uncle Abbas, I can fight too. I can defend Imam, I can defend Islam, right? And somebody had come and hit him with the mace and he fell off of his horse. He dodged the blow again. And then he started to charge. When he started to charge the enemies, he looked down and his shoe had, the strap from his shoe had come undone. So listen to what Janabi Qasim did. He got down on his knees and he fixed the strap for his shoe. Why? Because he is the son of Imamah, because he is royalty. And when you're royalty, you present yourself like royalty. You don't go out in shaggy clothes. You don't go out and act like, you just rolled out of bed. He was royalty, and he wanted to look like royalty as he sent the enemies of Islam to hell, as he sent them to hell. And what a war did he fight? What a war did he fight until they surrounded him. They surrounded him. They hit him with spears. They hit him with the mace. Janabi Qasim had fallen. Hazrat Abbas could no longer see him. He called to he called to Imam Hussein. He said, my final greetings to you, my uncle. Assalamu alaikum, ya Mawla. Hazrat Abbas, Imam Hussein. They ran with the curiosity that they had not been reaching the floor. Yes, they had gone to pick up bodies before, but not with this sense of urgency. And as they ran to the battlefield where Janabi Qasim had fallen, everybody saw Hazrat Abbas coming from one end, saw Imam Hussein coming from the other end, started to panic and started to ride the horses away, riding the horses here and there, trying to get away. A big cloud of dust started to form from all of the horses going back and forth, Imam Hussein, Hazrat Abbas calling, Qasim, where are you? Qasim, answer me. Where are you, my nephew? Son of my brother, Qasim, where are you? The cloud of dust was settling. And as the cloud of dust settled, Imam Hussein starts to look around and he didn't see a body. He saw a little bit of a shirt. He saw a piece of a finger. He saw a piece of hair to realize what had happened. Janabi Qasim had fallen, and the enemies on the horses were so scared of Hazrat Abbas and Imam Hussein. They didn't look where they were going, and they trampled and ripped the body of Janabi Qasim to pieces. That is the thought Imam Hussein had. He thought, could this be true? He looked up at Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. Who had his sword drawn. He was ready to go find the people who had trampled on the body of Janabi Qasim, trampled on the body of his beloved nephew, the son of Imam Hassan. He was going to go send them to their death. And Imam Hussein looked at him. He said, Abbas, no, put away your sword. We don't want anybody saying that we struck first. And Hazrat Abbas usually he puts the sword away right away. He stood there for a second. He saw the anger and the determination of Hazrat Abbas's eyes. So Imam Hussein, listen to what he did. He did something very interesting. He started to unbutton his abaya. Hazrat Abbas saw this, and it was something he had not seen him do, especially in public like this. Hazrat Abbas calmed down for a second and put his sword away. Imam Hussein unbuttoned his abaya all the way down, and he put it on the floor. He spread it out nicely on the floor, and he started walking around, picking up the pieces of Janabi Qasim, like one picks up flowers in the meadow, picking up the pieces of Janabi Qasim and putting it in his abaya, picking up every piece, pieces of flesh, pieces of shirt, a toe, pieces of his cheek, picked up pieces of hair and put as much as he could find in his abaya. And then he wrapped his abaya up and he carried it like a satchel full of bread, a satchel full of groceries. He carried it back and he went to Farwa. Usually people have a lash that they can look at and say, this was my sacrifice. Imam Hussein, he laid down his abaya, and the pieces of Janabi Qasim were laid down in front because he had been trampled. Alive by the hooves of the horses. Ya Allah, please send curses on the enemies of the Ahmadiyya. Ya Allah, please give us the strength, the mental strength, the emotional strength to remember these stories of Karbala. So if somebody comes and tries to tell us that they didn't happen, we could tell them without a shadow of a doubt that they happened. We could tell them why they happened. Give us the the mental maturity to look at these stories not just as the fables of death, but as examples of life and these examples of how we should look at our death and how we should value our time. Every single second of Karbala was a lesson to us. Allah, please open our eyes so we understand the lessons that were being sent to us in the on the day of Ashura. Please, Ya Allah, while we sit here with tears in our eyes for the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, tears in our eyes for the son of Bibi Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, with tears in our eyes for the atrocities that happened in Karbala. Ya Allah, please answer all of our prayers. Whoever is sick, please take their sickness away. Take it away right away. Whoever is in need of money, whoever needs to get married, whoever, whichever household needs children, whoever's in debt, whoever needs to pay their taxes, Allah help all of them. Allah help everyone with all of their problems and help us understand that the only thing we should stress about is how much we're going to please you. And the only sadness we should have in our life, is Gham Imam Hussain.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ya Hussain. 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 Ya Hussain.
Hai Qasim, 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 Hai Qasim. Hai Qasim, 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 Hai Qasim. कैदी बनकर पाबंद रसन लाशों से जो गुजरी अहले हरम, हर बीबी अपने प्यारों से होती थी विदा करके मातन। एक बीबी फातिमा बिन्ते हसन, पामाल बदन कासिम की बहन, किसी एक जा से रुखसत न हुई, किसी एक जा से रुखसत न हुई, टुकड़ों में जो था भाई का बदन। कभी इस टुकड़े पे है कासिम, कभी उस टुकड़े पर है कासिम। तेरी बहन गरीब नु नहीं भूलना, तेरी बहन गरीब नु नहीं भूलना, तेरे कत्ल दा मंजर है कासिम। है कासिम, 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 है कासिम। कभी सहरा देख के रोती थी, कभी गश खा के गिर जाती थी, कभी सहरा देख के रोती थी, कभी गश खा के गिर जाती थी। पामाल हुआ था भाई जहां, पामाल हुआ था भाई जहां, उस खून पे गिर कर है कासिम। है कासिम, 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 है कासिम। विच रस्सियां दे पाबंद हुई, नई बहन गरीब दवस कोई, विच रस्सियां दे पाबंद हुई, नई बहन गरीब दवस कोई। हुंदे हथ आजाद ते मर जांदी, हुंदे हथ आजाद ते मर जांदी, तेरा मातम कर कर है कासिम। हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम कभी इस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम किस शान से तुम दूल्हा थे बने किस शान से थी बारात चली किस शान से तुम दूल्हा थे बने किस शान से थी बारात चली बैठी रही दुल्हन उजड़े में बैठी रही दुल्हन उजड़े में आया ना पलट कर हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम फरवा ने कहा बेटा कासिम खित देना दादी जहरा से फरवा ने कहा बेटा कासिम कह देना दादी जहरा से गुर्बत की कमाई टुकड़ों में गुर्बत की कमाई टुकड़ों में भेजी है सजा कर हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम कभी इस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम उठ कासिम देख तेरी दुल्हन तेरी लाश पे रोने आई है उठ कासिम देख तेरी दुल्हन तेरी लाश पे रोने आई है ऐ काश ये शादी रास आती ऐ काश ये शादी रास आती बस जता तेरा घर है कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम हर सात मुहर्रम को मेहंदी तेरी याद में कासिम होती है हर सात मुहर्रम को मेहंदी तेरी याद में कासिम होती है धूला धूला कासिम धूला 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 कासिम धूला होता है लबों पर हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम कभी उस टुकड़े पर हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम हाय हाय कासिम हाय कासिम Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein.
सलाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी जगह जगह है अलम गवाही तलम पतरी है बादशाही जगह जगह है Alam kawahi, talong patari, hai badashahi, labong patara, hai nama ghazi, wafakatu hai, imam ghazi, salam ghazi, wafakatu hai, imam ghazi, salam ghazi, wafakatu hai, imam ghazi, tara alam ka hai hum pasaya, alam pasaya hai panchatanka tara alam ka hai hum pasaya alam pasaya hai panchatanka balanda tera maqam ghazi wafakatu hai imam ghazi salam ghazi wafakatu hai imam ghazi salam ghazi वफाकतू है इमाम गाजी
अलम के जब से हुआ ये साया जमीन करबो बला पे मौला अलम के जब से हुआ ये साया जमीन करबो बला पे मौला तेरा चलते निजाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी तू बावफा है तू लापता है बे आसरों का तू आसरा है तू बावफा है तू लापता है बे आसरों का तू आसरा है जहान में चर्चा है आम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी हुसैन मौला से प्यारा करना हुसैन पर जान निसार करना हुसैन मौला से प्यारा करना हुसैन पर जान निसार करना यही खतरा पेयाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी सलाम गाजी वफाक तू है इमाम गाजी
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
What you know about death? Yeah, sweeter than honey. Don't believe me? You better ask somebody. Janab Qasim, just ask him. Yeah, he knows. Only 13, but one of our heroes, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Ziyaratu Arsa.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إلهي أذم البلاء وبره الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء وضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المؤول في الشدة والرخاء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم ففرج عنا بحقهم فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصري أو هو أقرب يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 الأجل 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وسلم.
I remember Janab Warasa is the final component of the Amal for tonight, for the No Chandi for Muharram. And this Amal we're dedicating as a gift to the mother of our living Imam, Bibi Narjis Khatun. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa Bismillah, brother man.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Rasulullah. Assalamu alayka wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Adama Sifatillah. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Nuhin Nabiyullah. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Ibrahim Khalilullah. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Musa Kalimullah. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Isa Ruhullah. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Muhammadin Habibillah. Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Ali Amir al-Mu'mineen Walillah. Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Muhammadin al-Mustafa. Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Ali al-Murtaza. Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Fatimah al-Zahra. Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Khatijat al-Kubra. Assalamu alayka ya Thar Allahi wa Ibn Thare والوتر الموتور أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرزيت به يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مطهمات ثيابها وأشهد أنك من دائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين وأشهد أنك الإمام البري التقي الرزي الزكي الهادي المهدي وأشهد أنك الإمام أئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسوله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع الدين وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم زيارة علي أكبر. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن مظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرزيت به. زيارة الشهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباؤه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداعه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي ولي الناس. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي تبتم وتعبتم الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Someone's gonna do all the rest.
Yeah, the Mount Heavy is very strong. Assalamu alaikum ya sahibu Rasul Zaman. Assalamu alaikum ya Imam al-Insu Jan. Assalamu alaikum ya Sharik al-Quran. Assalamu alaikum ya Sharik al-Quran. Alaman, Alaman, Alaman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli walika al-hujjatin al-hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala abai fi hadhihi sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a waliyya wa hafidha wa qa'ida wa nasira wa dalila wa aina hatta tusmi'u annaka tawa wa tumatti'u fiha tawila برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Translation. O Allah, please be your representative, Al-Hujjah, the son of Al-Hasan. Your blessings be on him and on his forefathers. Now and at all times, protector, guardian, leader, helper, guide, and watcher, so that you shall allow him to prevail on your lands willingly, and you shall make him enjoy it for a long time. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Fatiha. So now let's recite Surah Fatiha for Kullu Mu'minin Mu'minat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجه.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
All right, so that concludes this program. Thank you guys for tuning in.